Hey everybody, Dave here. This is a single video in my 15-part series for Let's Build in Blue Prism using Notepad++. I'm assuming that if this isn't part one, then you have seen the video prior to this. Let's get started. So the next thing we needed to do was to fulfill, and this is where the thought came to my mind that we needed to add that check that we were on the right tab of the preferences window, because here we're going to work with another tab of that preferences window, the new document tab. So let's see, do we want to set this, because we can decide afterward, but do we want to set this new document stuff before we set these other things? Set word wrap on. Yeah, we may as well do it right here. We're going to navigate to preferences and we're going to set the general settings and then set the new document settings right here while we still have the preferences window open. That way we are being as efficient as possible. So let's go in and set general settings. We're just going to do a similar thing to that. So I may as well duplicate this. Look at all that stuff. I'm not duplicating that page. New set new document settings, and here we're going to do something similar, at least this. Okay, preferences window exists. That sounds good. Select general. That sounds bad. We want to select new document list box. We're gonna pass in new document for the item that we'll select in the list box. Preferences window cannot be found. That sounds good. General tab exists. We want new document tab exists, and instead of searching for a localization, we need to add to our application modeler. Right here we'll try to do it parallel to what we've done already. So where we have the preferences window, we didn't create a section for, we didn't create a section for the general stuff. So let's do that now. I'm going to do a child here and call this tab general. And then we're going to, I guess we'll have to drag them individually. Whoops. Okay, so now we've got all that stuff under the general tab, so I can actually just minimize that to reduce the complexity of what I'm looking at. We can just see the overall, this is the close button for all of Notepad. List box preferences tab. This is inside, right? Yep. Okay, so now we just need another tab for new document, and when we're in new document, we can, so in this case we can actually, man, keep forgetting to attach before I start working in application modeler. There. Here. We can actually identify this. New document. Cool. So we can actually verify that that's there instead of localization, because over on the general tab there is no like overarching frame that we can look for. So we can look for a new document. Let's just go add that really quick, actually. On our set new document settings, here, new document tab, check exists, and we'll change this to be new document tab. New document label could not be found, possibly indicating the new document tab did not load. Okay, let's go back into application modeler and Notepad++. Let's look in settings, preferences, new document. We need to set, we need to select this one and default language normal text right here, and then we need to select UTF-8 and apply to open ANSI files selected. So let's add child. Okay. We need 4 inputs. We need 4 inputs for this. The last one I'm just going to do ahead of time. I know it's going to be apply UTF-8 apply to open ANSI files. Only applies if UTF-8 is selected. So flag. Okay. And then it's going to be encoding valid I'm typing this out in case I forget for myself, but it would be good for other people as well. So default language, text. This one's text. And then the first one was format line ending. Okay. So there's my inputs. Format, default language, encoding, and apply to open ANSI files. Now we just need to verify that we can take these as inputs to dynamically identify what we should click on. The exception is here. We don't dynamically identify this actually, or this one. That's just going to be a straight up element. So right, this one is going to be dynamic based upon this text. So if I type like Unix LF and Macintosh, okay, dynamic, and we should be able to write the value. So format. Oh, this is a radio dynamic format line ending. Then add an element. Let's identify the default language. This is going to be a combo box. I just call the other one combo, I think. Oh, combo box. This is combo box default language, and nope. This is okay. Well, it's the only combo box on the page, so we got that going for us. We also need to do just do match index. Okay, and then we're going to add an element and identify the encoding. I think that this will work. ANSI. Okay, so if I just do UTF-8 highlight, okay. Do dynamic input, and radio, dynamic encoding, and then last one is going to be this guy. Apply to open ANSI files, and we're just going to set the value to true or false depending on the input. So radio, of course, it should only be selected if and after UTF-8 is selected. So we'll need to do that. Combo box radio. This is a checkbox. Apply to opened ANSI files. Okay. So this is the point we're at. We can start writing the data. So we can use one write stage. Write main values. We're going to need 3 of them. Not this one. So format, encoding, oops, this one, and default language. These will go into the ones that we just created. Default language is here. Dynamic encoding. Oops, please, this is not suitable for writing. Please choose another. Didn't we just do that up here? That's exactly what we did right here. New, okay, small item. Maybe I used active accessibility. Let me go see. When I used these. Okay. These are active accessibility. That's what it is. All right. So for the radio buttons here, dynamic format line, ending, I'm just going to re-identify these as active accessibility, uncheck a whole bunch of things. I probably don't need to do that. Copy, delete, and we'll just copy these guys. Paste. Radius, standard icons. Paste, and then we just change this to be Windows CRLF. I bet. Look at that. Okay. I love it when a plan comes together. So we're going to do this, then change it to dynamic, and then delete the other radio button. Copy. Let's delete this and paste. This one will be UTF-8. And I think it'll let us write into them now. Maybe. Format, encoding. All right, so those are the 3 main values that we'll write. Then after those are written, then we can probably go ahead and select this based upon whatever it is. Even if UTF-8 is not selected, let's let's test it. Right. Okay. Well, that's one reason to use active accessibility. You can write into the values. So, we want to get rid of this checkbox. Delete. and use one of these checkboxes. Maybe not one that has, like this one. Copy. I don't want to use one that has match index on it. Paste. Show status bar. Paste that. And then we'll just change this to say something like ANSI. Whoop. ANSI. Oh. Oh, no, that's not right. Apply to opened ANSI files. Okay, fine. I'm not sure what was different about it. Window text, parent name, name, ID, enabled false. Oh, okay, right, yeah. So here's where this is going to be useful. We want this to say enabled true, and what we're going to do is use a wait stage, so that after we have written the values to the other things, we're going to use a wait stage that will wait until this becomes enabled. Now, the way you wait for it to become enabled is you design your element so that it doesn't recognize an unenabled element to count. So I have selected enabled true. So this element effectively does not match what this element is because it is not enabled. So if I were to select highlight, it's not going to find it. But if shouldn't there be something that identifies? Yeah, this, okay, name. But if I select UTF-8, now it's enabled, and if I click highlight, it finds it. So that's how we're going to use this to control the speed of execution, but also to execute as quickly as possible. So we're not putting arbitrary weights in. Let's click OK. I think we're good on this. And I should be able to write the value true or false, whatever's given. Checkbox. Right into apply to open ANSI. Open ANSI files. ANSI files. What's going to have to happen is we need a decision stage right here that will check whether this is true or not. Or actually whether this equals UTF-8 maybe. Whether, let's see, encoding, I think. Yeah, whether encoding equals UTF-8. And if it does, okay, encoding equals UTF-8. If it does equal UTF-8, then we will go on the yes path this way to write the value true into this field based upon whether or not they give true or false in this. So if it's not even selected, there's no reason to wait at all. It's not selected. Whoops. Okay. Coding. If the encoding is UTF-8, if it's not, then we just move forward. We don't care. This document, new document tab exists. No. We just want to know if that specific checkbox exists. If it doesn't, throw an error. Checkbox, error. Click OK. All right, I think we're looking good now. Are we ready to run this? So I'm gonna hit play. It should wait for the preferences window to come up and then start doing its thing. it'll go to select new doc. Well, that's not going to work. Okay. First of all, we need some default values. So we need, in format, we'll do Windows CRLF default language. We're going to put as normal text. Encoding as UTF-8 and apply to open ANSI files as true. Be our default values. And what are we missing? We're missing something. This, select new document. Right, I want to test it being on the general tab first. Okay. Open preferences, select new document. Oh, I need to rename that. Oh no, maybe, no, that's right. New document tab exists. Write main values. It seems to be having trouble. Missing parameter for dynamic identifier. Anyway. Set new document settings. Okay. Okay. This does need this value. See, this is where it gets confusing. So I'll explain this. What we're doing is we're trying to put true, or we're actually just putting true into the dynamically identified radio button. So if they pass in Windows, Unix, or Macintosh, we're just going to put true in whichever one they select. So you have to select one of them. Then default language is different, where it's actually going to take the value of that they take, and it's going to write that into the field. Then in encoding, we go back to the thing of writing true into whichever one they provide, which means we need to go in and change that to dynamic for encoding. This one for here, this should be dynamic. And let's go into write main values, and this one for encoding. This should take the value in encoding. Default language is getting written there because they work differently. And then the last one is actually just going to write true. So it is taking a value of true or false from the user anyways. It's not a dynamically identified checkbox. So let's try this again. Select general, close that. Start running this. Opens the preferences, it'll select new document, it exists, and then it writes the main values. Checkbox exists, it checks it. All right, so now let's test it again with Unix, ANSI, and PHP selected. Oh, right. Settings, preferences. All right. It looks to have done it all correctly. Cool. Let's test it being false over here in this checkbox. And in this case, it's going to write all the values anyways, but it just won't change. We'll just do one. Actually, we'll do Objective-C. All right. There we go. I think that's tested and ready to publish. And published. Set new document settings action. All right, thanks for watching this part of this 15-part series in Let's Build in Blue Prism, where we work with Notepad++. I'll see you next time.